Hello everyone and welcome back to this video on how to draw a perfect star. So this is the part 2. In the part 1 I showed you a particular method that you can use to draw a perfect star using a circle, and in this part 2 I'm going to be showing you another method which involves using a pentagon. So if you missed the part 1, I'll leave a link to it in the description of this particular video. A pentagon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a sketch of a pentagon. So in drawing that pentagon, I'm going to be working with a pentagon with a side of 10 centimeter. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to measure one side of the pentagon, which is 10 centimeter. So I'm drawing it. Make sure you draw it with a faint line. So I already have my 10 centimeter. Let me call this point A, and let me call this point B. So I'll bring in my protractor, and from point A, so I'll place the protractor on point A, and I'll measure 72 degrees. So make sure your protractor is properly placed. You measure 72 degrees in clockwise direction. So you start from here, you measure 72. So this will give me my 72 degrees. So you note that point. You bring the protractor to point B. This time around, you measure in anticlockwise direction. So that means in this direction, you measure 72 degrees. 72 degrees. So you bring in your ruler, and you make sure you're on the same line from point A to the point we marked for our 72 degrees. But note, you are not to draw any line. So you can see I'm on the same line from point A to where I have marked my 72 degrees. So I'll just go further and mark my 10 degrees. My 10 centimeter, which is here. So from point B, I'll do the same thing. Make sure from point B to where I marked my 72 degrees. So this is it, 10 centimeter. So the next thing I'm to do here, so I'll bring in my ruler and my compass. I'll measure the same 10 centimeter. So you can see this from the same 10 centimeter. So let me call this point C, and let me call this point E. So note this is point C, point E. Now from point C, I'll place my compass on point C and I'll draw an arc. With the same 10 centimeter, I'll place it on point E and I'll also draw an arc. So I'm using 10 centimeter here. You decide to use any length. So the point of intersection, this is it. This is the point of intersection. I'll call that point C. Point D rather. We already have point C here. So let me call this point D. Point D. So if you are to join all these points together to give you a pentagon, but what we actually need are the points that we've noted. So we don't really need to draw out the pentagon. So now we have our point A, B, C, D, and then point E. Now the next thing is this. Now from point A, you can start from anywhere. What you want to do now, you can start from anywhere. But I'm starting from point A now. So from point A, you are going to draw a line, skipping point B, draw a line straight to point C. So that means you are going to be having something like this. And make sure you draw it with a faint line. So from point A to point C. So from point A to point C, you are going to be having something like this with a faint line. I hope you can see it. Then from point C, you skip point D and draw a line to point E. So with that, you are going to be having something like this. So from point C to point E with a faint line. So now from point E, you are going to skip point A and draw a line to point B. Remember, we are still using faint line. So make sure you are doing it with a faint line. Now from point B, we are skipping point C. So the concept behind this is this. From one point, you skip the one that next and draw the line to the one that follows. So from point B, we are going to skip that of C and draw the line to point D. So it's going to be look like this. Now from point D, we are going to skip point E and draw a line to point A. So already, if you are at this point, you'll be having what looks like your star already. So the next thing for us now is to make the star itself bold. So now let's note all these points of intersection here. So let me start with this point of intersection. So as you can see here, so let me just call this point 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. I'm only labeling it so that you can really get the concept of what I'm doing. So now what I'm going to do, from all these points, I'm going to draw these lines to all the alphabets. So now from this point 1, I'll draw the line, make it bold from point 1 to point E, from point 1 to point A. From point 5, I'll draw the line to point A. From point 5 again, I'll draw the line to point B. So this is what I'm saying. So let me start from point 1. I'll draw the line bold to point A. As you can see, so from point 1 again, I'll make the line bold from point 1 to point E. So now I'll go to point 2. So from point 2, I'll draw the line to point E. Make it bold. And then from point 2, I'll draw a line to point D. So what I've just done now, I'm going to repeat it to point 3, 4, and then 5. So from point 3 to point D, then from this point 3 to point C. So from point C and then point 4 straight to point C. So from point 4 to point B. And then from point 5 to point B. And then for this last, that's from point 5 to point A. So if you are finding value in this video, please kindly click on that thumbs up button, give this video a thumbs up. So you can see we already have our perfect star. So this is how you go ahead to draw a perfect star. This is the method 2. So in the method 1, this is what we have in our method 1. In this method 1, we started with a circle. So if you look closely, here we are having a circle. We started with a circle before we were able to get our star. Unlike here, we didn't work with any circle. So if you want to see this particular video, I'll leave a link to it in the description of this video that you are watching on how to draw a perfect star from a circle. So that is it, guys. If you have any question or any comments, do leave it in the comment section below. And if you also want to know how to draw other pointed star, maybe draw a 6, 7, 9 pointed star, 8 pointed star, I'm also going to leave link to those videos in the description of this particular video. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in another video. Thank you.